the love, yeah. You found me no search. It's like you knew that inside I was hurting. I was so young, stood no chance, but you gave me a shot at a romance. I feel like you were like an angel sent to bring me life. Now that I'm with you, me one say that me love you, that me love you, that me love. Hey, me no go one day wonder without my baby, without me love, without me love. And I'll dance and sing and I sing because you make my life complete. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I can't believe that this is for me. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I can't believe that this is for me. Oh yeah. Chada, 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 chada. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's for me. Chada, 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 chada. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's for me. I've never felt this way. So when they ask us, say, oh yeah, we're going all the way. So me, we happy, love you all the time and things. Sometimes I wonder if the thing could cut us under to get under. I know, but your love in my life control that. I lay down my life this way, do anything to make you stay. All of the blessings they come my way, and all the bad things they turn away. Sometimes life is such a scare. Your love gives me the strength to bear.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's a for me. Greetings and gratitudes, family. Greetings and gratitude. Give me a couple seconds, y'all. I'm trying to get this light shown. I'm having last technical difficulties, honey. I might have been too ecstatic about this here thing we getting ready to do today. Now, I need to give a quick that's called backstory on a couple things, and we're gonna go on and jump into this. Y'all, now y'all may remember it's almost probably like 2 years to the day. Do y'all remember me, Red? Oh, child, let's get into it. Do y'all remember me, Red? And they said, greetings, Marshall. Greetings, Marshall. Yes, okay. Child, let me go on and turn this camera on. Can we turn that in up just a bit so they can get off my shoulder blade? Greetings. Y'all remember me? Child, how's this lash looking? It ain't too bad, is it, honey? Oh my goodness. Make sure you hit the like button as you come in here because we have an interesting tale today. I'm gonna be doing an interview with Miss BC. Good golly, Miss Molly. Honey. Well, yes, that lady, honey. Me Red. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember it was almost probably like 2 years to right now, to this day, honey. When we did something similar, she had called me with some information. And this may feel similar, but I got to tell you, the me wig, yes. I don't feel like it is. I am telling you the truth. This is Miss BC. Miss BC has an interesting story to tell, and I have asked her not to show her face or say her real name. And we are going to get into it. Now, I ask that you are very respectful of her story, her time, her everything. Just be respectful, okay? And we're going to see her tale, hear it. I was waiting on this. I'm going to bring her up Please, let's give her our attention and welcome. Greetings, Miss BC. How are you?
Good afternoon to all, and thank you for having me, Quinn. How are you?
I am good. Just call me Quintita. Um, I know you're new to me, so you are not aware. So, first, let me say gratitude for taking this scary time and opportunity because I know you were fairly afraid to do this, right?
Yes, I was.
Yes. Okay. And you're unaware of who I am. You've never watched me.
Not until yesterday, but my neighbor mentioned you several times over the past month.
Okay. So first of all, gratitude to her. Um and I was fairly afraid of myself to have you on as well, which is why I asked that you didn't share your name or your face. So take us back, Miss BC, um, to kind of like the beginning. I want to go back because you said over the years you've had several surgeries.
Well, I had several children that included the third one, which was a C-section, and the other surgery was a tonsillectomy. So those are the only surgeries that I've had throughout my life.
Okay. So yesterday you gave me a few dates. You said I think 20 and 25 and 30, 37. What was those things? Are those the children that you had?
No, those were the age ranges of the people that I suspected were involved in what was going on.
No, no, no. I mean even after that when I thought it was that you had a few surgeries and you said 20 or 25 and 30, 37 different times that you've had medical treatment.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. They weren't surgeries. I was hospitalized for asthma attacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hospitalized. That's what that was.
Yes.
Okay. So you have been experiencing a few things. And inside of your session, after you had called me yesterday, we went on ahead and got it done. But I asked you, um, I said, all right, this is going to sound crazy to you, but do you think that you've been abducted? And you said, no, no, no. And I said, but I think that you have. And so going back to October, tell us what started happening to you in October.
Okay. October of 22, actually, it was the latter part of September 22. I noticed that every time I touched my phone or computer, electronics, period, things were moving that, I wasn't touching, I wasn't doing anything. If I were typing, things were being deleted as I typed, or things were being added, like adding AAA, things like that.
Okay.
And it started with that. And I called my service provider to check for viruses, and they checked that particular day and said everything's fine, showed no viruses or anything. So I put the computer away, and then a couple days later, I took it out, same thing, and I called my provider again. They ran scans, found nothing. So then when I went to shut my things down, the computers, it was saying that it was saying that programs were open.
Okay.
And I didn't understand it because I knew I had never experienced that before. So I decided to check my Wi-Fi settings and all. And when I did that, it was like I couldn't see anything. So then I said, okay, well, I'll do it. I'll take this route instead of the phone. I went to the computer to go into my account to do it. And it locked me out. Basically, it kept throwing me saying that it was not such page. So I went back to the main page. I kept trying to sign in. It was telling me that my login was incorrect when I knew that it was right because that's the one I had from for many years.
Okay.
So then I said, I think someone's hacking into my system, my Wi-Fi. So I called my provider, And when I explained, we immediately said, first thing we want to do, let's change the password. And then we did change settings of the router, a complete different name. After that was done, we went in fact, it took almost 2 hours that was done, and I was able to sign into my account while my provider was on the phone. So when I logged out and I said, okay, a few moments later, I said, let me go and make sure, everything's okay. That's when I was going to go and check to see how many devices were on my Wi-Fi. And I couldn't get in the account again. It's like every time I called my provider, things were changed, new router sent, it was the same thing. And to this day, I just recently was able to get in and create an account, because other than that, I couldn't even pay some of my bills online anymore, which I've been doing for years. And some I'm just getting it together. Other than that, I had to go out to the companies to pay my bills. That's how bad it was.
Okay. So you started suspecting that you had some neighbors.
Yes.
And you started suspecting that your neighbors may have had something to do with it. And they're younger than you are. You're a lady of a particular age.
Yes.
And so what made you think that possibly your neighbors had something to do with this?
Okay. Several things. I was coming in one morning from work, and delivery truck had just passed. They had just received a delivery. Um, the following day, I heard things it was a lot of drilling that went on. I heard things in the back of the apartment, which was over my head, the master bedroom. And this drilling went on that afternoon, evening, and all night. Shortly after that, actually, it was a couple of days later, that during the night I would fall off to sleep around 11 p.m. midnight. I'm awakened by the scanning, and I could hear overhead like a machine, up, back, and forth from head to toe. And when I would go to rise, I said, "Oh, let me go to the bathroom." It was like it went then from the top of my head to my feet and lifted off. I went to the bathroom. I lied down again, and I did fall asleep, waking up moments later with the same thing. This went on for several nights. I did say something to the neighbor a few days later, asking, um, what is that you have up there? There's something like a radiation coming down on me. Like it's like I'm being scanned or something, and I can hear it. And the response was, I never heard of that. And
Hmm.
so it was just let go, but it just continued.
Okay.
As time went on, I heard this drilling over the next several days, going through the apartment. From it went from the master, I guess, where it was completed there, through the hallway, and even the other bedrooms overhead and the living room. Shortly after that, I was still having problems with the internet and all. So I said, well, someone's stealing my Wi-Fi. So I looked up different things as to what to do. Well, the first thing I did was I looked up, said about cyber attacks, Wi-Fi theft. It says call your local police.
Hmm.
That's what I did. But I did it out of the house because everything I did at the house, I knew it was like someone was on everything and listening to my conversations. So I ended up going to Walmart several days in a row just to make calls and to make business calls. So after calling the police about it, they met me there. Took them 2 hours to get there, and I told them what was what, and they said, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it. You have no proof." Um, Talked to. They asked me, was it a private home or an apartment? And I told them it was an apartment complex. So they said, talk to your landlord. Um, I did speak with my landlord the following day. And she says, okay, well, send me an email, put it in writing. I did that. I did not hear from her. I waited patiently a week later. Things still going on. And when I did call her, I said, no, I'm sorry, I sent another email. And she sent me one saying, well, um, right now we do not need any more information at this time. And so I continuously told her that that these people were hacking in on my system, and so basically nothing was done. Then I took notice later, right about the same time. My husband, yes, he's older. He is retired now, but he was doing all this excessive sleeping. I felt like it was like he was just different. He was doing all this sleeping like that he never did before. Even when he worked hard, he would sleep 2, 3 hours lying down. He'd get up, he'd be on video games or eating, and or we're out and about, and he may set up later, maybe several hours later, maybe napping, and that's it. But
Okay.
he was sleeping excessively, like 10, 12 hours straight. He would get up, grab a bite to eat or something to drink, and then he would yawn and back to sleep. This happened. I noticed the change in him. It was like he was walking around like a zombie, to be honest.
Okay.
And I started picking up on other things. That every time we went out the door, I was hearing boom, a boom sound like something was hitting, like slamming something, like you're being locked in. This was whenever we left home, or if I stayed behind, if my husband left, or one of the children left, or one of my children visited, anybody in and out, I heard these things boom, 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 every time the front door was touched.
So I
And
have a question. So are your neighbors that you were hearing the drilling, are they new neighbors to you?
they were at that point, they had their 6 months. They had moved in March, and they had beautiful children. This woman has 5 children. Um, and I'm like, oh, they're so gorgeous. I know what I'm going to do. So a week after they had moved in, I baked chocolate chip cookies for the children, and I took them up, and they said thank you. The very next day, the container that I sent took them up in, they had cleaned it and returned it. When I saw her the following day, I said, "Did you guys enjoy the cookies?" She said, "Yeah, they enjoyed them. They were good. Mine don't come out like that." And I said, "Oh," and just laughed. I said, "Yeah, those were just the Pillsbury cookie dough, but normally I'll make my cookies from scratch during only the holiday season." So later that day, I saw the boyfriend, or one of the children's father, and I didn't say anything to him about the cookies. He said to me, "Oh, those cookies were good." He said, "I'm not gonna lie to you. We ate those cookies. Kids didn't get none of them." And I'm like,
Wow.
wow. And then it was late, and I said something. I said to him, because we would stand out. I would smoke. We do not smoke in the house. So when I saw him like a couple of days later, I said, "Your kids are so quiet. You never hear them." He said, "Oh, they don't live here."
Mm,
And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "They don't live here, but they would come sometimes on the weekend. Yes, you would hear them." So
yeah.
that's where, that's how I met them. March
Okay.
that year, and yeah,
Okay. So, but you have been married to your spouse for 24 years.
yes, 24 years. Well, I'm sorry, 24 years coming March of
Come
24.
on. Okay. And so, how did you meet your husband?
Well, I met him. Excuse me. I was working a job back in back in the early '80s at a store and a gift shop, and he happened to came in there looking, and he had his son with him that was, from a previous marriage, and he just started talking. He said, he gave me his number and said, "Give me a call," and I said, he said, "Oh, and this is my work number," and I said, "Oh, okay," and he told me the shift that he worked. And right when he walked out the store, I balled the piece of paper up and trashed it because I just wasn't that type to, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings saying, "No, I don't do that. I don't take numbers." So he was very persistent. He came again a couple of days later and did it again. And um, I think even then, I threw it away. And then there was like a fourth or fifth time. I said, "Okay, I'm going to call this man." And I did. And that's how we started talking. We started talking. He was at work, And then one day he asked me, well, what time do I get off? I told him, and he came there to pick me up. And he took me home. No, I'm sorry, we went and ate. I think we ate at McDonald's. And then he dropped me off. I did not invite him in that first time or first few times because I didn't know him that well, although he seemed like the perfect gentleman. But that's how we met. And it
Okay.
went on for a while. Yes, he was still in a marriage and living with his wife. And he told me the truth from the beginning. So my thing was like I started caring for him, and I told him like, you can't come here late at night and leaving in the middle of the night. It doesn't look good, and I feel like I'm being used. And I said, well, if your marriage is so bad, you need to get out of it. And he says, well, I want to, but I can't afford it. And that went on for a couple of years. But either way, I had to put an end to it. I told him that I'm not going to be anybody's dump truck, and it wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
So
So,
finally we did. We stopped talking for a while, for a couple of years. Well, we would talk like every 3, 4 months or so. But as
mm,
far as seeing or anything being intimate, didn't happen for like 3, 4 years. So we started. We talked one day, and he asked about a movie. He gave me a time of picking me up. He was like 3 hours late. I had taken my stuff off. So what we did, we sat around my house, and I think we went and got a pizza, and we ate pizza, and that was that. But we continued talking from that point on, and he did end up, as far as changes, he did move from out of the house with his wife. He found an attorney that told him he can do what they call self divorce, where he the paperwork and all himself, and he did start that.
got it.
And we continued talking, and then I was living at the time with my mom. I had moved back in with her and my first son, um, back, well, a few years before. And so because he seemed to have been getting it together and working on the divorce, I did something that I didn't think I was going to do. I moved in with him,
Mm,
and I had already talked to him. We discussed that I'm not going to live with a man forever or 5 and 10 years without marriage. That if I'm good enough to lay with, I can act like a wife, cooking and all the things like that. That I was good enough for him to make me an honest woman. So
mm-hmm.
we lived together for a while. Just a month after being in with him, I was pregnant with our first child, and I kept, if you want to say, maybe I did go to the extreme, but I don't regret it. I kept putting that reminder there that, I mean, I know you started with this paperwork for divorce, but you need to, keep going and get it done so that we can do the right thing and be respectful. So every time I would say something to him, I understand, yes, he was working and tired and what have you, but he just didn't feel like he was trying to move ahead as I would like him to have done. So anyway, he did. Eventually, he kept working on the paperwork. It was times that he had to stop because he had to get um, an attorney's opinion on different things. And I got to the point. Anyway, what he did do was I asked him about a ring. I said, "Well, at least get me a ring." We picked out. He said, "Ask me which ring do I like." I picked out a marquee diamond,
Mm.
and I wore that ring, which we know is in confirmation of marriage. Well, as time went on, yes, I would bring up every few days about this divorce and about us getting married. So I don't know if he was tired or just angry. I don't know, but when I mentioned it to him one day, he just up and said, "I'm gonna do it, Mom. I'm gonna do it. I'm working on it." So I just got tired. That went on and on for several months. So I did see the papers, and yes, that's my fault. I ripped the papers up because I just thought it was phony, that it just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't fast enough for me. So when he went to look for the papers, he asked me, and of course I denied it. And he said, "You tore them up, but you want me to get divorced, but you destroyed the paperwork." And so we basically battled and went on and on to where um, I took the ring off. By this time, we were at a year. I said, so why did you get this ring? Why did you get this? I got it because you wanted it. I said, then you could have got me a birthstone or something, not an engagement ring. I'm not wearing an engagement ring forever and not married. I said, that's not going to work. So I took the ring off and I threw the ring at him. He was getting ready for work and it hit him and cut him on his upper lip.
Wow. That was a
And
strong
so,
ass throw.
yeah, so he got angry and he came over and he did punch me in my jaw.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, so from that point on, I did call the police. They asked him to leave and he left, knowing I didn't have anything, all my savings, my funds, everything from working or anything handed to me from my parents and my family. Um, he ran through it because I would give him my car. They had a bank then called Signet Bank. I think M&T is taken over now, but it used to be. And he would always say, "Well, let me get $100 and not such and such payday." And it went on and on like every other day. Let me get 40. Let me get 50. Let me get 200. Let me pay the car insurance. Let me this. Let me that. So it got to the point where it was nothing left for me to pay my bills. I had an insurance policy on my son that I was gonna let that, let it build until he was 21. No one could touch it but him. I had no money, and he wouldn't give me money to pay the insurance. The insurance, because I had it so long, they gave me a grace period, and he kept promising me, okay, next pay, and I'm telling the company that I will pay him this such and such date, and he never gave it back. So then they said, well, it's going to be, the policy is going to be canceled. Do you want to cash out? This is the amount that you'll get, which at that time was like 4,000. And I said, well, should I cash it out? Oh, I'm gonna give it to you anyway. The time expired on it. I started feeling like he wanted me dependent on him, that he didn't want me to have anything of my own. That's how I started feeling. So we basically battled. He did leave the home for a short period of time. Me at that time not having anything, I couldn't pay the rent in there at the time, which was $1,000 and utilities. And so when he left, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then remember, I'm pregnant and I had a child. So he was back and forth getting things out of the closet. And something I never did before, and I'm not going to blame the pregnancy. People say that women that are pregnant, sometimes the hormones, and they do things that they don't normally do. And what I did do, I said to him, bastard, don't keep thinking you're going to come in here getting things. And so I said, okay, I know what I'm going to do. The next trip he making here to get clothes out of the closet, taking them to the car, I'm going to set his clothes on fire. And that's what I did. He came in to get some things, and the clothes, hanging clothes in the closet were burning. So he called the fire department, police come,
Whoa.
and he told them what was what. So I was handcuffed and taken. Um,
Okay.
so I was taken to the police department and had to sit there and wait for the commissioner, and which took about 7 to 8 hours. And I spoke with the commissioner, and they gave me a date, which the court date, which was going to be, I think it was like 6 months later. And at that time, by then, I was like 8 months, 9 months pregnant. So he dropped it, but the state, I guess, still wanted to pick it up. And anyway, bottom line, what came out of that was the judge looked at me and like, oh, this is probably due to that pregnancy. Woman looked like she's ready to have the baby. So he asked me, did I want to take the stat? He said, do you know what that is? I said, no. He said, well, the stat is this is put on hold, and as long as you don't get into any trouble the next year, it's thrown out. And so that's what happened. And so we started talking again. There was a neighbor that told her kind of the situation, because actually she was coming to me for a cigarette. And I told her what was what. And she said, well, you and your son can come over to my place. It's just myself and my little boy. Her son at the time was 2. My son had just had his 8th birthday. And we went over there and spent some nights. I tried making calls to see what type of help I could get as far as shelter and applying for some type of assistance, and I didn't get nowhere with it. But this person welcomed me, and in the meantime, now we're still talking. We were still talking, and we decided, okay, we're going to make this work, because he says, well, I have a child on the way, and I feel like I'm abandoning you and your child. And so we worked things out. We went back to that complex and talked to the landlord, which he had already been there in that apartment for a couple of years. And the landlord said, okay, rent was behind. And he says, okay, well, you pay this amount, that amount. So anyway, we ended up moving back in there, and he brought his things in. But as far as the furniture was still in there, we were only out of there for, I think, 2 weeks.
Okay.
And
So
the bottom line was we made it work.
you did. And you had several children. You have a total of 10.
Yes.
9 by your marriage, 1 from a previous, your
Yes.
oldest.
Yes.
In total, you said you had 16 pregnancies.
Yes.
And only 10 of those survived in different ways that you may have like lost the other
Yes.
6. Okay. So now we're back up today. We're going to fast forward because I just wanted the backstory on you and your spouse. So now we're back up to date, and your husband is in the military. He's been in the military before you met him?
Yes, he was in the military before I met him. Actually, he had just came out and said he had been out for a year at the time I met him, which was in 1984. So he said he did 10 years in there.
And so is he still inside the military now, or did
Oh
he
no, he's been out
since then?
84.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so now we're back up to date where everything has started to happen with the neighbors who have been there for 6 months. You're now like hearing things, feeling like you're being scanned. Now, I asked you a question last night, and I always use code words when I speak of it so they don't block my channel. Have you taken the jabs, the shots?
Yes.
You've had all of them?
All of them.
Okay. When was the first time you took the shots?
The very first one was, oh my gosh.
It was around like the pandemic when everything happened?
Yes, right shortly after they came out with it.
Okay.
Yes.
And so in total, how many have you had?
Okay, I had the 2 shots and 4.
4 in total. Okay.
Yes.
And so your last one being December, the last December.
Yes.
Okay. And then like 3 weeks ago, you had the newest thing for those people that are over a certain age bracket.
No, it's not age bracket. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So you've had that one. We'll
Yes.
just say that. You've had that one. And so let's get into when you first noticed. You said you had called different people's news outlets to try to get some assistance with the tapping of the phones and the hacking of the systems and the emails and the Wi-Fi, and feeling like things were being intercepted. And now I understand. I kept saying, I think your mail was intercepted. I'm thinking we're talking about like mail. We're talking about email. And I just realized that hearing you say that.
Yes.
Okay. So your emails were being intercepted and things like that. So you said you've called news outlets and everything, right?
Yes.
And no assistance.
No assistance. And I never received anything back. Even calls from FBI. I felt, I knew that I was being watched. It was like anything I did, it was known. I even started, I had to write or in the dark. And so I kind of wrote a letter to where it was shortened to the point to FBI, and I sent it certified. That was in January of this year. But before that, I filed online, never heard from them. I filed with CIA, everything you can think of. I went to the Department of Justice, um, everything. And then I
What
said,
made
okay,
you
I
go
know
to
what I'm,
the FBI and the CIA?
pardon?
What made you go to the FBI and the CIA?
Because of what was happening with the phones, with my phone and computers.
Okay.
Be- yeah.
And not getting in there. So you said I even went as far as to try to contact CNN.
Yes. A couple of times. And when I did that, I was doing it from my phone. And I don't think this stuff is going through my phone or computer. So I used my daughter's. I used her Apple computer. Still never heard anything. And I kept trying, like I said, with writing letters, which I still to this day have the receipts of, me sending them certified with the dates and times, and of course where they were delivered to. And
Okay.
I just have been, everything's been, I just been unsuccessful. Um, I even was trying to talk in rhythm to my grown children, thinking that they would reach out to someone saying, my mom is this, that. No one, nothing. It's like I feel like, and even then in a horror movie, like nobody hears me. Like I'm just, something's wrong with me. But I knew nothing was wrong with me.
Okay. So let me just say this too. Because this is why I believe what you're saying to me. One, because I teach about this. And like I said yesterday, you're a walking validation to some of the things that I have said. And I believe about the intercepting of phone calls and emails because it's happened to me. I had given out some free tickets and I reached out to one of the participants who won the tickets. And I reached out via text message and they were intercepted by someone else that I believe is a CIA agent plant. And she began to argue with me. And I'm like, don't you know who this is? And so I called. And when I called, the call was intercepted. And now me and the young lady is arguing. And so I emailed the woman who I'm originally trying to contact. And she says, you're not talking to me, like, because I know her. She said, this is not me. I said, isn't this your phone number? She said, yeah. So then she ends up calling me from the number. Then there was intercepted. And I knew then the phone call had been intercepted. And they can do that. So you took your certified letter to the post office and you said, as you were handing it over, that's when you start feeling the burning.
The way I held the end of the envelope, passing it to the postal, yeah, my fingertip on the right hand, the index finger and thumb burned really bad. And it was like that for probably several minutes after handing the letter. I'd never experienced that before. And that was right about the same time, shortly after that. Every time I would get a pen and notebook to write, whether it was writing, documenting everything that I did, every doctor I went to, what was said, appointments coming up, anything of these events that would happen. I felt then like I could be seen because the fingertips would burn then. Anytime for me to hold a pencil or a pen to write, my head would burn, my spine would burn.
Okay. Like when you say burn, do you mean like you just kind of feel heat
No,
or
it's an internal burning, like just like internal burning.
like you're on fire from the inside?
Yes, kind of a painful burning,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and it just sits there. Just it just sits there, make you just uncomfortable, and it's just uncomfortable.
Okay. So now we're going to get into a lot of the things that you have been experiencing now. I saw a few people in the comments yesterday and today saying gang stalking. This is far deeper than gang stalking. This is far deeper than voodoo work. Did you originally, when you contacted me, because you said you weren't getting any assistance from anyone, so you said, you know what? Maybe I need to reach out to a psychic. Maybe I need to reach out to a paranormal person to come and look in my house.
Yes.
What was your thoughts at that time? Did you think this was voodoo?
No, no. To be honest, from the very beginning, okay, there's a woman that I know that I met on my job. She's been in the military for 30 years and retired just 2 years ago. And when she came into my job one day, she asked me, as usual, "Hi, how are you?" Um, and that's when I explained to her, I said, "I keep having this burning in my head." And after telling her that a few times over her next few visits, and she said, "Sounds like," she said, "You know the symptoms," when I told her about my ear and the different things. She said, "You're describing the same symptoms of those people in Cuba." She said, "Remember when President Obama was in the White House and these attacks went on in Cuba with these agents and what have you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I remember the events, but I mean, I didn't pay much attention, but I mean, I did remember it." And she said, "It sounds like you're being tagged and this and that." She said, "Why would someone want to do that to you?" I said, "I don't know." And she said, "That's what it sounds like." So as time went on and she asked me how I was doing, I would tell her the truth. "Well, this has started." She said, "It really sounds like you're being attacked." And I said, "Well, what can I do about it?" She said, "Well, you can contact FBI." And I had told her I had already previously did that about the Wi-Fi and all. And so she said, and I was telling her about, I said, "Well, what are tags?" And she says, "Well, they're thrown." She said, "They're whatever's on you, they know everything that you do." Because I had told her about my fingers burning when I touched my phone, electronics, how my eyes felt real big, and the phone was like I was looking at the bright sunlight. And she says, "Well, whatever's being done," she said, "it sounds like you're being tagged, and um,
Sounds like
that
they're watching
every
and viewing through your eyes.
pardon."
It sounds like to me like they're viewing through your eyes. When you say your eyes are getting big, like your pupils are dilating, and
Right.
they're viewing through your eyes.
Yes.
Wow.
And that just constantly went on for a while, for weeks. Like I said, I touched my phone, my fingers are burned. But one day, I heard, well, what was happening. Not only when I was being scanned, this machine, this roaring sound, roaring. When I would speak, if I was on my phone, I'm listening to music or the TV, I heard feedback of every sound I made from over
Mm.
my head.
Almost like last night when we were speaking on the phone, when you began to tell me, I said, "You've turned robotic."
Mm.
Like your sound was robotic. I could still hear you, but you sound very robotic as you were speaking.
Really? Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. So, and you started to tell me, you said, "I began to hear internal noises and clickings."
Yes, that just started just here recently in September, with my ear, my right ear. I had a heaviness, heavy feeling like in the ear going down like right about like the side of the chin and the neck. And it wasn't comfortable. It just felt really heavy. So I decided to sit down a moment and I said, "Hey, let me do some head and neck exercises." So I rolled my head left and right, and then I decided to shake my head, nodding motion like yes. And that's where I felt like a pulling from the neck into the ear. And I could hear, and it sounded like metal. And I kept doing it. And then I said, "Well, wait a minute, let me." So I called my daughter and I said, "Come here." I said, "Bring your phone." And I said, "Do me a favor." I said, "I'm hearing a click and it's so loud to me. I think someone else would be able to hear it. So it's not in my head." So she sat there close. I said, "Move over some because I don't think you need to sit that close on me to hear it." And so I did it. And she heard, she said, "Yeah, I hear it." She said, "Sounds like something's knocking." I said, "Yeah." And so I said, "Record it." And so I stayed in that position and we did it for about a minute. which I do have the recording of. Just last week, I decided to lie down on my couch, and that's something I don't do. I rarely even sit on my living room couch. So, but here lately, I guess a comfort rather than just being in the bedroom with so forth. I lied there one afternoon. The only thing I had to eat was raw spinach because I've been trying to do that, leave junk alone and see what would happen as far as my stool and everything. So I lied there and just normal breathing, and I could hear this clicking, the same sound clicks coming from that right ear over a month ago. I heard it in my stomach. And so then I laid there and I said, let me hold my breath. And I held my breath without breathing. I still heard the knocking. So my phone, normally I don't even keep my phone with me like I'm lying down or anything. And so I said, well, it's right here. I said, let me see if I can reach for it without actually moving or getting up. So I was able to reach for it and I put it on record and put it there right on my belly, like stayed in that position on my side and just breathe. And I got it, the sound of it 2 more times. So I have that.
Yes. Okay. Do you have it to play or?
Yes, I can have it to play.
Okay.
And that's another thing too. I have had recordings of certain things, and when I pulled them up for someone to listen, they were deleted as I pulled them up. They were
Listen,
being
I
deleted.
have had things missing, deleted. I've been locked out of things that no way possible that could happen. So I totally get it. What I also want to go into is because you started thinking, you said your husband told you, like you need some help, you need to seek help. But he also told you, oh, this is the government. So
Mhm.
you did seek some help. You went to a therapist.
Well, the only reason why I went to the therapist is because when after talking to my family about it and all, and so I said, well, it's time for me for a wellness check and all. So when I had an upcoming appointment, that this was back in February, I talked to my doctor and I told her that I felt like I said my body is being probed at night. I feel like I'm being raped and everything. What type of tests are there that can be done to check my body? She said, well, first we'll start with blood work. So we did a complete, what is it, a CMT, um, all tests. Bottom line, everything came back negative except a test for syphilis. She also at that time did a pap smear and all. Everything came back normal except that syphilis test. And she wanted to start me on some medicine. And I said no, because I know that I do not have syphilis. And she says, well, it came back positive. I said, well, I'm a married woman and I know I do not go outside my marriage, never have. And I trust my husband 100%. I don't believe that he has. I said, I then told her too, I said, we have not did anything. It's been a few years. And she just looked at me. She just kept asking me questions. Are you sure you didn't? I mean, because sometimes it'll still be positive in the blood if you had it as a teen. I said, I've never had it. You sure in your, I said, I've never had it. So I said, well, let me ask you this. If I've had syphilis before and all these children and you're tested throughout that and even your babies are tested when they're born, I said, it would have showed up in them that because mom had it. And she said, yeah. I said, okay, so it never showed up in them. I said, I've never had it. I've never had any venereal diseases, not even crab lice, that normal teens, the things that, or if you want to say teens will get. And so she said, well, do you want to start the medication? I said, no, I want to retest. And so we retested, and I guess I feel like it was planned to see what was going on with me medically. So the next test came back negative.
Right.
And I even had read up on um, only medications I was on, only thing, medical problem I have, yes, asthma. I don't have asthma attacks often, but I was using an inhaler. The only pills I was just diagnosed about 7 years ago, low thyroid level. So that's the only medication that I was taking. And when I checked the list of medications that will give a false positive reading to venereal, tests for the venereal diseases or with syphilis. Um, that was not in the category at all.
Right.
These were medications like within blood pressure medications, things that I didn't have and had never even taken.
Right.
So
So
that's
then when I was talking to you last night, my head was pounding. And I said, I asked you, I said, is this one of your symptoms? And you said, I don't even get headaches. You
never in
said
my
it's
life.
the burning and then the pain from that you experience.
Yes.
But my head felt like it was going to explode. My eyes, my head, it was pounding from the time I spoke with you until I went to lay down. And so you have experienced probing to the point where I'm like, I think you have been abducted. And you're like, no, no, no. And I'm like, yes, it is mimicking autoimmune diseases and things like that. But I believe someone is causing this in your body. And I told
Yes.
you, I said, I don't believe your neighbors can do this. I believe your neighbors were planters. They were planted there. Um, to keep an eye on you and things like that. And now that you even say the children were not there, because I tell people all the time, I say they're planners. They'll look like they have children, but the children are not their children. Children probably don't even stay in the house with them. You're saying everything that I teach about. And so going forward, please tell us about the different probing, the bleeding, the different markings, the when I said to you, I think you have implants, you said, I know that I do. Let's get into that.
Okay. Now as far as um outside the burning, the normal daily head burning and my fingers, neck, and spine, in January is where all the everything really came in. I went to sleep. I fell asleep one night around 11 p.m. and I was awake, and all I know was I woke up and I was screaming, a loud scream. I felt something like being ripped from my lower spine, and then I felt an actual liquid draining the internal, and it hurted. And I had no idea what it was. I didn't mention it to anybody. Other than that, I had no pain. That it kind of died down a little. Couple of nights later, I was being punctured, like right about the area on the left side of where the ovaries are. And the puncturing kept on and on, like something they were after or something. I got tired of it. It was all in the vaginal area, and I couldn't lie down anymore. I was just miserable, like I was being raped. Like I did I just knew something was happening. So I said, what can I do to get them out of my vagina? I just don't like this feeling. So I went and I decided, I said, I'll let me get a tampon out. Now keep in mind I had went through menopause 10 years ago. Never any problem. So I took that tampon and I went in the bathroom and I inserted it. When I inserted that tampon, I heard this machine like not the target. And right when that did that, something went bam and stabbed me, and I immediately started bleeding. I went to the ER early that Sunday morning and told them the truth. I told them what I was there for, and then you know how they ask you, how did this happen? I said, well, I don't know. I said, I'm being attacked by something, some type of weapon, something. And of course, they looked at me like I was crazy. But anyway, I was examined. They did do a sonogram. And they said, well, we can see some bleeding. Just don't know where it's coming from and why. And they did say, well, I should follow up with GYN. And I did not immediately. The bleeding, it wasn't heavy, but it was more than just spotting. And it went on for a couple of days and it stopped. From that point on, this probing went on every night in that area, and then of the rectum. When I ended up at the ER also shortly after that, because I realized I wasn't having a stool. Never been constipated. I'm the
Yes.
type of person, I eat a lot of fiber. I've since a kid I've been a lover of fruit and fiber cereals and raisin bran and things that you would say are healthy that or should be good for you, especially when it comes to the digestive tract. And I wasn't having a stool at all, no sensation of going, but my stomach started being in pain. So when I went to the ER and told them, they did do an MRI of the stomach and said, well, you have a lot of stool backed up. They prescribed a powdered called Marimex, I believe, to put a capful in a bottle
Mm-hmm.
of water.
Mm-hmm.
I did that. I did not do it that day because I got home late that evening from the ER. I said I'll wait until tomorrow because I had to work that morning and I didn't want to. They said it takes about 5 hours. So after I came home, I took some, no change. The following day, and then I started doubling up on it, which I knew was the wrong thing to do. But I was putting extra because I was determined. I wanted, well, I needed to go to the bathroom. I wasn't getting rid of my
Right.
weight. So still couldn't go. And then finally it's like, okay, I went. But when I went, the most, and keep in mind, this was the first stool that I had after my spine, something was yanked from my lower spine, and I had that drainage of fluid. So when I went, it was the most horrible odor that I never smelled before. I'm crying.
It's okay.
Stop crying.
It's okay.
And it was so sloppy and horrible. Like it just went everywhere. So when I went to wipe before, of course, washing, it was so messy that it got all on my hands. And then when my fingers touched and all this stuff, I knew it wasn't my waist. It's like it wasn't normal. It was gritty. It like had a bunch of grits in it. And I said, this was not mine. So I knew that too. That something was just wasn't right.
Yeah.
But it was nothing wrong with me. So I washed and I washed. The odor was so horrific. I literally had to wash about 10 or 12 times to get rid of that odor. Because the more I lathered up and I'd rinse and I'd lather and I'd wash and I'd rinse and I would smell the washcloth and it still had that odor. I got another washcloth and I kept on and on. Whatever it was, every time I would have a stool, that horrific odor. And it was just nasty. It wasn't diarrhea, but it wasn't paste. It was,
Is it
I
like
don't know.
sludgy?
It was more like, it was, I can't, okay. It was more, have you ever seen waist of an elephant? How it's piled. It
Yes.
wasn't, I mean, I'm not trying to be crass. It wasn't a
It's okay.
turd. It wasn't diarrhea. It was just a clump of just nasty.
Mm-hmm.
The color, it was dark in color. And it just went on. And that's when I realized, well, I'm not going to the bathroom on my own. It was like when I was allowed to go, I could feel it being pushed out. I also recognized, in fact, the day that I went to the Department of Justice, I said, well, maybe I can get somewhere with them. And I went there and I did that report. The gentleman says, why didn't you call your local police? I said, I've been calling them from the beginning. I this and I told him everything that I've done. He said, well, this is a problem for the local police. It's like everybody was putting it on the one on the other.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left out of there, when I walked out the door of the Department of Justice, they pushed stool out of me, basically had me having a bowel movement on myself out in public.
Mm.
So my husband drove around to pick me up. I got in the car knowing how nasty I was, and I sat all the way coming home, slouched to the side, because I didn't want my bottom to touch the seat and have the odor or anything coming through. So that was a miserable ride back home. It also has happened at work. I realized there are times that I would talk to them. I would say, "Why are you doing this? Leave me alone. What do you want?" And there are times that I would cuss them out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what would you do if this was your mother? Would you want this to, I mean, because I'm a mother just like your mother, and I'm a grandmother. What would you do? Would you want someone to do this to your mother? And different things, different days, I would say to them. Um, and I said, "Are you angry because I'm doing whatever?" And then I would go back to, "Well, if this was happening to your mom, would you want her to sit and do nothing? Because you seem to be angry when I try to do something to find out what's going on with me or to report the situation." And it's like that night would be more horrible. It's like
Mm.
whatever I tried to do to help myself or to speak out about it, I would be put in more pain. And that pain it could have lasted just throughout that night, or it could have been all day the next day or a couple of days straight. Then I was
Mm.
at work, my head was attacked, the burning in my neck. The shooting is like a pulsating when it would hit my body, especially of the rectum. That is, I think, the most annoying. It's like your body, like you're being invaded.
You said about the rectum, you said that you thought you had a different hole or something.
Yes, that's what I was going to get to. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, and that's another way I realized what was happening is that when I was allowed to have a stool, I would go, and I've never been the type to sit back on the toilet all the way back. And I took notice that after I would have the stool and I wipe, hands not touching the back, but the stool is splashed up on the back, not splashed, like on the back of the seat. Um, and I'm not back there. So that's when I realized my stool, something has happened, like another opening has been put there where my stool is not coming out normal, where it's a little lower, where it would normally go down in the toilet. It was coming out the back, almost like you would up higher, like you see a horse, their waist comes up all the way up there. And I took notice. And because I took that notice, yes, I was concerned and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
check myself. And I did that by using my fingers to check. And I did feel that there was another opening, and perhaps that was done when I didn't know that what was that what it that's what it was. But when I felt my spine being ripped, so when I inserted my finger into, which is my natural rectum, it was clear, nothing, no odor, no nothing, and I've done it numerous times. The other opening had no odor either, but it's like I feel some type of wiring on the side. If I
Mm.
could just take my forefinger and thumb and pull it, I would, but I can't. It's like it's right there. I had recently had a colonoscopy. It was that time I had one back in June. It says everything was fine. Um, So I called this particular clinic to go back for a check. I said, "I have an emergency. I'm not using the toilet." And I described it. And when I went, what I did was, first of all, my husband, I wanted him to do it. I said, I said, "I have three holes. This is not normal and this and that." So what I did was I said, "Okay, what can I do?" So I inserted a tampon, one in vaginal, hole number one. Number two, the natural anus. And
Mm-hmm.
number three was where that rip was made. I had three tampons. That was just so that I guess I in my mind was this no, okay, it's three, and then you could find this third one easily. So when my husband checked and he says, "I don't think it's three. Your rectum seems to have been stretched." I said, "No, it's three." And so I got upset. He said, no, it's been stretched. And so I ended up, I believe I cussed him out. And I said, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, my rectum, where my waist comes from, is not all the way up there. So anyway, it is there. I've been ripped or something. And that's where my waist comes from. Now, the day that I went, I had the appointment. The day that I went to with a doctor that did my colonoscopy. I did not see him. I saw his assistant. I talked to her. I said, you did my consultation before my colonoscopy, and I told you of what I was experiencing. And she said, yes. And she said, I put that in the notes because I did tell her what was going on to see if the doctor, and she was saying, oh, he's so great. If there's been anything planted in you, any type of anything, he's going to find it. Like I said, during that colonoscopy, everything looked normal, nothing found. So when I went, like I said, that day, I said, I have 3 tampons inserted to show you such and such. She didn't really examine it. She asked me to bend over. She pulled the tampon. She said, you have 2 holes. I said, no, I have 1. No, that one's in your vagina. I said, no, that one in the, no, you have 2 in your, I said, miss, she said, you need help. You need to see a psychiatrist. And
Wow.
I looked at her like just burst out. Now, I do believe what happened that day because I was excited. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to get somewhere. They're going to really check my bottom, and they're going to see this. They're going to see something's wrong, and there'll be some evidence of there's things been done to my body. Basically, she asked me to leave. She said I needed help. And after I thought about it, I had a hard time putting it in that day for some reason. So it was like, it was the third one was trying to be closed up so that I could not insert anything for it to be seen. And basically what I ended up doing, I had 2 inserted in the natural rectum. But there is an opening. I'm not crazy, and it's just that no one has physically examined me thoroughly to see it. And that's where my waist is being controlled. And it's coming from there, not my normal rectum. I've tried everything, even up to this point, of stool softeners, still drinking the laxatives, suppositories. And now at this point, when I try to use a suppository, I'm punctured on the right side for whatever reason. It just happened the other night. I said, I'm going to try a suppository. And when I inserted it, shortly after, I was punctured. The only difference, I did not bleed this time.
Okay. So now you did go eventually to see a therapist.
Yes.
And he, at first you said he did not believe you.
Okay.
How did that go?
Okay, now my doctor, when I told her about the probing and all and tests that were done, nothing was found. MRIs were done of the brain scans without contrast, spine, went to a neurologist, nothing's found. So my doctor did end up telling me, she said, about a month later, she said, I think maybe a therapist like that. I said, oh, okay. I said, I do not have a problem with that. I said, but I'm not crazy. So anyway, so she gave me the referral. I saw the therapist. But at first it was a consultation with the psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw her, she asked me what was what, and I told her. And she said, okay. She said, well, maybe, she said, how's your sleeping? I said, well, I've never had a problem sleeping, but I've never been a hard sleeper or a type of person that has to sleep 8, 9 hours like that. I said, but I keep waking up. I'm waking up from the things that I feel going on with my body, internal and all. So she said, oh, what if I give you some medicine to kind of, I said, no, I do not need any medicine. I said, I do not want medicine or medication to suppress anything. I'd rather be awake to feel what's going on with my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't allow. So she assigned me. She said, okay, well, we're going to set you up for weekly appointments and your therapist is going to be, and she told me the name. So I was scheduled the following week to see this therapist. Um, First time with him, meeting with him, he listened and he said, so when you are hearing these things, I said, he said, I can give you some medication to kind of so that I said, I never told you I hear things. I told you what I'm feeling and I've been experiencing. And I said, I do not need medication. And then it was other things he said. I said, doc, I understand you may be wearing the white coat, but I know my body. And so I said, so you do not believe me? He said, no, I'm not saying that. So bottom line, I had several more meetings with him. It was every Tuesday morning. And by the fourth meeting, he asked me, he said, is it okay that I record this conversation at this? I said, sure. So he asked me questions. I asked him. He asked me about, told me to keep a log. I said, sir, I've been keeping the log from the very beginning. Well, I started keeping the log in late October, but remember the dates of the things that actually started the end of September going into October. So he said, yeah, well, continue to keep a log. And he says, well, this needs to go up higher. And he wanted to talk to a colleague of his he had to get in touch with. So the following week, he says, well, I made an attempt. I haven't heard back from him yet. And the following week, same thing. He said, I haven't heard back from him. So hopefully by next week, I'll hear something. And he asked me had I continuing keeping notes. And I told him yes, of every event, everything, date, times, everything. So the following week when I went and I expected good news, as I did at the past 2 weeks, they said he was no longer there. You did not receive a letter. I said, no one told me. And, so I never saw him again. And then they said to me, good luck. So thereafter, I'm like, okay, well, but as this kept going on, and I had doctors to say to me, maybe you need to talk to a psychiatrist. I said, well, a therapist. And then at the time, in fact, that very clinic, when they stood there and said that that doctor was no longer there, he went to another location. They did not disclose the location, but the psychiatrists were standing there. No one offered to say, I'll take on your case, or would you like to continue sessions? No one made an offer. So as time went on, and then when I went to the ER for visits, like I said, because of the burning, the pain, tremendous pain and all that, I was
Miss BC?
time.
Oh, there you go. Wait a minute. You cut out. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We heard
So
you
it's
say you went to the hospital.
yeah. So even just over the last few times of the hospital visits, ER visits, or just seeing my doctor in general, I would tell them, well, yes, I've talked to a psychiatrist and a therapist, but they let me go. And I feel like that if they really truly thought I had a problem, that they would have either committed me someplace or they would have said this person needs help and they would have continued to see me, but no one made those offers. So this last doctor that I had, because he's a great doctor, um, in the beginning, when I told him what was going on, he claimed to have looked over the records. He said he didn't find anything um, that was out the way. He said everything, all tests that has been done over the past few months, everything is normal. And he said, well, maybe the last visit that I had with him, he said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to either go to Shepherd Pratt or go to the ER, tell them what you told me so that they can put you on the psych ward and you tell them what's going on. He said, because I can't help you any further. He said, when you go there, I said, what are you saying? And I said, you keep saying psychiatrist. So you think I need medication? Yeah, yes. But listen to me, you cannot let them win. Go there and tell them the same thing you told me and tell them to call me. I said, no, if I do that, I'm creating a record that's going to follow me. And they're going to think I'm out of my mind and going to try to put me on medication. He said, don't assume that. Just do as I tell you. And he said, you don't. I know it's going to be a hard decision. You don't have to do it today or tomorrow, but the sooner, the better.
Hmm.
And so far to this date, I have not done it.
Right. That's the same physician that said, I can help you, but anything I tell you to do, you got to do it.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't done that. However, there's still things that have been happening. Like this is not stopped. Like you even told me you hear people walking around, but you can't see them. You know they're upstairs, or you hear the footsteps, but you don't see them.
Right. It's like I'll hear the floor creaking over my head. Like I hear the footsteps. And also things like, okay, now one time I did go to the bathroom. I was really surprised. This was back mid-September, that I was able to have a stool where I felt normal. Still wasn't coming from the normal place, though a natural, I'll put it that way. I'm sorry. But I was able to go 4 times in less than 24 hours. And I really felt good. So evidently I caught on to, I guess what was, I decided to make my diet better. That I'm just going to
Mm.
eat nothing but green vegetables, no junk, no nothing. It was hard to do, but I did it. I was eating nothing but raw spinach, Glory canned spinach, greens, and I did have grapes a few times. Still no bathroom, but before I started that, I had tomato soup. I love tomato soup, and I was drinking it, putting it in a mug, and adding the water or milk, and I would heat it up. That's the only thing I had had, and I was able to go to the bathroom. Evidently, somehow it was caught that I'm getting rid of my waste. Something then was put in my throat that when I drank that tomato soup, this is how it sounded. Ooh, ooh. Only when I had the tomato soup. I have recordings of that. I had my son actually to stand with his phone out holding the mug and drinking. I said, in this sound, when I swallowed without eating and just normal, you didn't hear it. But whenever I drank the tomato soup, would sip it or off the spoon, it was this big loud gulp. And I didn't know why. And I thought about it. I said, I think this evidently interferes with something and making me go to the bathroom. So I felt like it was whatever was done was to, I don't know, kill the nutrients in the tomato soup to keep me from going to the bathroom.
Mm.
So I started with, just like I said, only green stuff, no junk, no nothing, soda, nothing, just water and green leaves all day. And I started having a burning in the throat only when I ate those things.
Mm.
Um, and that's just been ongoing. Even now, things are pulled out of my stomach. Yeah, it's,
What was the situation when you had told me about? You said you had never taken off for your birthday.
I never taken off because I feel like I dropped down a few years ago to just less hours. So I feel like I only work a couple days a week. Have been for the past 3 years. So I try not to miss time, just for 2 days. So my birthday fell on a Saturday this year, back in June. And when I realized that, before that date, of course, I said, I think I'm going to request everybody else takes off, even though I have nothing planned special, just to take off and not be in there on a Saturday. So I requested off that Friday night. It was hell, no sleep. I was just tortured, terrorized all night long.
When you say that, what do you mean?
The
Like
burning, the
the pain?
pain, the burning of the head, the pain, my neck, the main arteries of the neck burning and throbbing, my spine, attacking my the anus, the vibrating all night that Friday night, all day Saturday on my birthday.
Okay. Let's talk about the vibrating, because you went as far as to go sleep at your neighbor's house because you thought it was just in your house.
Yeah,
So,
I was very uncomfortable, and it's like I don't want to be in here. Now, keep in mind, before I went to the neighbors, this was just a few days before, and this was in It was in February, early February, and as cold as it was, I told my husband, I'm going to take the keys. I'm going to go sit in the car. Well, sitting out there in the car in the cold, 10, 11, I stayed out there until about 2 a.m. And the vibrating started in the car, the attacking my butt in the car. It was happening in the car. So even after sitting there for several hours dealing with it, I said, well, I may as well go in. So I went in, I took my coat off and all, and my son wasn't asleep. And he says, Mom, I was reading up on those weapons. He said, it does this, it does that. It can read your mind. They can this, they can that. And so that's when he continued. And I'm just sitting there like I've heard him, but it was like I wasn't interested. So then he came to a part. He said, Mom, this article here says that if you feel that you're being attacked by some type of energy weapon, if your head is burning, you can protect your head. And that's when I said, oh, really? So that's when I looked at it and we read it together. It says, try the aluminum foil. It's a metal that will block the microwaves and all. And sure enough, I took out the Reynolds wrap and I made a hat for my head covering, the top of my head down to the eyebrows and my ears. I felt the shooting and it was hitting that aluminum foil, felt like raindrops hitting and falling off. And it went on for a couple of hours. So I guess at that point, it was realized that they weren't getting my head. I walked around like that. I was protected for a few hours. Even I took a shower and I kept it on. So they kept on and couldn't get my head. Somehow they worked their way up from the ankles up and started attacking my legs and all. And eventually the head again. And I couldn't keep that on forever. So whenever I took it off, my head was still always attacked.
So then you went to the neighbor's house.
Yes, a couple days later, which I had already mentioned to her previously. I said, something's going on. I'm being attacked, like a burn in my head. And she said, really? And like that. And I said, yeah. I said, and I think it's the people upstairs. And she was like, well, why? I said, I don't know. I said, but I had already previously, like over the past 3 weeks or so, had mentioned it to her. Um, anyway, so it just became unbearable to me to where I just didn't want to be in my apartment anymore. So I knocked on her door. It was like 11:15 p.m. And I said, can I stay over here tonight? I can't stand. She said, sure. So I went over there. I got there, I arrived in there because I went back. I said, well, I'll be back. So I went, I did get my phone and my cigarettes. And I went back and tapped on the door. And so when I went in, she says, well, I'm going to take my shower, but go ahead in the bedroom, make yourself comfortable. You can turn the TV on. I said, oh, no, I'll just sit here and wait. Well, she had two daughters, almost grown. And I'm sitting there on the bed, and the daughters walked in there to get something. And when they walked in, they heard a sound like something was being thrown. It was hitting in the corners. And they looked and they said, what is that? I said, you heard it too? They said, yeah. What was it? I said, I don't know. But I'm thinking in my mind, this is what I'm hearing in my apartment. So they left out. And soon after, their mom came out of the shower and she came in. And we're sitting there. She heard it, like these sounds hitting in the corners. Like I felt like I was being located, is how I felt. And so we sat and we talked and we laughed a little bit. So by it was 2:30 a.m. We laid down to go to sleep. She was on the left side of the bed, head up, and I was on the right side, head down at the foot. We drift off to sleep, and all I know was I screamed because I was punctured. It was this puncture internal, like in my lower back and all. It's like the same pain that I had experienced before. And I screamed and I said, stop, you're hurting me, holding my stomach. And then right after that, the bed started vibrating. And I mean, it wasn't a light. This was stronger than what was happening at my home. And so that's when I said, let me go. So I got up. I said, I'm getting ready to leave. I said, you want to come lock the door? And she said, No, go ahead, because we're going to be getting up shortly. Just lock the bottom lock. And I said, okay. I said, thanks for having me over. So when I saw her the following day, late afternoon, and I said, hey, like that. She said, why in the hell was my bed vibrating? I said, oh my God, you felt it. And I broke down then like somebody is finally experiencing, or they said it. I said, and then that's when I asked her, um, we were in the hallway when she said it. I said, can you please do me a favor? I said, go in there and tell my family, my husband's sitting there, my daughter. I said, please go tell them that you heard this. I meant that you felt this. And she said, sure. And when she went, my husband's on the video game. And when she said, oh, she said, I just came to tell you, she said, my bed was vibrating and it vibrated for a while, like that. And she didn't tell me to say anything. I just said to her, I asked her why was my bed vibrating. I didn't know if this was demonic or what. And so they just looked at her. My husband with disbelief, like, I don't believe it. And they started talking about something else. So I did talk to her later, and I asked her, I said, would you please write me a statement just to say that you experienced this event with me? And she said, yes. So I went and I got a notebook and a pen for her to write it. And she said, now what am I writing? I said, no. She said, what do you want me to write? I said, I can't tell you what to write. You have to write what you know happened. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I said, only thing, I'll give you the date and time that it happened. So I had already documented it in my notes. And so something, I think at the time I was at her door and we were discussing about what she was going to write. She had company. And she says, but I'll write it later. So I handed her the notebook and pen and I said, okay. I said, you think you'll have it ready tomorrow? And I said, because I don't want to keep going to the doctors and I have nothing. And I said, I just need a statement with your signature and possibly if you want to give your telephone number if they want to talk to you. And so she said, okay. She said, well, I'll have it ready for you tomorrow. So I did not see it the next day. It was about 3 days later. I hadn't seen it. So I knocked on her door, no answer. It took about a week later. I did run into, I think I was either going out or coming in, vice versa. And I said, oh, did you do the letter? Yes. She said, oh, no. She said, I've been busy. She said, what was I supposed to be writing? And I said, well, about the bed, the vibration of the bed when I was there. And she said, oh, she said, girl, I've been busy. She said, but I'm going to get it to you. And I asked her for about over a month before we moved. We were in touch even after moving. I continuously asked her about it. And she did. She kept saying she was going to do it. But in June, when I last talked to her about it, she says, I'm going to do it, but I'm not signing it. I said, well, it has no value without a signature. I said, you need to put either your first initial, last name, or
Mm-hmm.
first name, last initial. It's not going to stand out without a signature. And so I said, she said, oh, okay. I said, so let me know, when you have it ready and all. I said, you remember the date? And so I told her the date, and she said, okay. I said, well, I'll call you in a couple of days so I can come and pick it up. She said, okay. In a couple of days, I called. Her number was changed. Yes, she was the type that her phone would get turned off maybe every couple months, but only for a couple of days. And I dialed and dialed her number for the next period of a month. And basically, her number was just changed. So I didn't bother anymore. I did see her in the grocery store, ran into her back here a few weeks ago, and she spoke and everything. And then I asked her because I was off of it. I feel like if you have to beg someone, if let me just say this, if I experience something like that and you told me the situation and that's to me is important. If someone asked me, would I write a statement to that effect that I experienced this, whatever it was, and I say, yes, I'm going to do it. You don't have to ask me 2 or 3 times because I know in my heart and mind that I want to do it, that, hey, I'm going to help you because I was there. And
Especially since I was there.
right. And so I had already made in my mind that once the number was changed, I said, yeah, I think this is because of me. Like, I don't want to be bothered. So when I did see her in the store, and I said, which door are you leaving out of? She was on her way out, and we were just coming up to the register. So I said, which door are you leaving out? And she said, that one. I said, oh, okay. I'm looking down, putting things up on up there to pay. And I turned around, this lady halfway across Liberty Road. And I said, I'm not running behind her. I mean, because I'm off of when I wanted to talk to her, what I was going to say was that I'm not going to ask any more about the letter, but I do want you to know that you hurt my feelings, saying that you would write this letter. And it was only for the purpose to say that you had experienced this event. It wasn't to tell on anybody or anything of that nature. It had nothing to do with court. It was just to say someone experienced this, was there with me when this happened. But I didn't get a chance to do that because it was like when she left out the store, she ran out.
Right.
And
So
it was out of sight. So what I did, it's like for some reason, I don't know what it is. I did discuss that with my husband. He said, leave it alone. My best girlfriend said, leave it alone. Like, don't bother her. And so I heard what they said, but at the same time, it's just something there that just don't stick right with me, that
yeah.
I'm determined to let her know how I feel. So I said, okay, of course, I don't have her number anymore. It's been changed. I do not go in that area or anything, but I am I already typed a letter that I plan to hand deliver. If I do not get anyone, I said I'll put it on the door. All I want her to know is that it was a letter. It had nothing. I think she really thought that she's be telling on somebody or something. I don't know, but I just want her to know that you did hurt me by not doing this. It was very important, and I only wanted someone to say that they experienced that with me.
Right.
And over the times that it has happened, when it was happening, when I did call people there, whether it was my husband, whether it was my daughter, my son, it would stop. So evidently I was heard to say, see, come here, it's vibrating. And that's when I called on and things would stop. Like when I would call someone there to feel whatever, like that pulsating of the body or vibrating, whatever was taking place, it would stop.
But
So
people have experienced it and felt it though.
I'm sorry.
People have experienced and felt the vibration. Your daughter has felt it. Your neighbor, your new neighbor
Yes.
has
Yes.
felt it.
Yes.
But you said to me yesterday, you said there have been times that you have screamed in pain coming out of your sleep and your husband never moved. He continued to play the game.
Never move because when he's on the game, he's usually in the living room. And I may be upstairs and I'll scream, but even my daughter's room is next door, and then the son is across. No one never responded to my screams. There are times where I guess I felt like it was a little comfortable to see if the same things would happen. Like I said, I never, and I no, don't allow anyone to lay on my living room couch. And I've been doing that lately. I guess I don't know, looking for a comfort or to see, like I said, if those things are going to happen, being right there with him and I'm sleeping. And it has. And I woke up screaming and his back is still to me on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would maybe go to the bathroom, try lying down again. And it just it just continued. And I don't know, frustration. And I would just pace about and then we'd get in. He said, I can't see how these things are happening without hands on you. No one's physically touching you. I don't think anything like this exists. He said, I do not believe in supernatural.
But he did tell you at first he thought it was the government doing it.
Yeah, he said, well, his word, when I was telling him who I think it was and why I suspected them, he kept saying, oh, I believe something's happening to you, but it's not those sorry niggas that you're thinking it is. I believe, if anything, it's the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you said at one point you went to, I think you said you went to the hospital or something. Your daughter was with you and she felt the vibration or something.
Yes, that was one of the ER trips I made. I believe it was July. I have it written down. I just did not have it. I believe it was around July 5th or 6th that I went to the ER. I'm sorry, it was the 3rd. I went to the ER again because my stomach was hurting, I mean, and burning. And as we sat there, I had just checked in, sitting and waiting to be called. And I could feel, it's like when these things get ready to start, I feel like a cold draft around me. Like I just feel a coolness. And I said, it's getting ready to start. I said, I'm gonna start vibrating. Watch. Put your hand on my leg. And before I could even get it out, it started. And she put her hand there on my thigh. And she said, yeah, I feel like you're like vibrating, like pulsating. I said, exactly. So there were moments that she did experience. Well, she was there for that.
Yes, as
And
well as
also,
the neighbor.
yes.
And I've
And
spoken with her, and she validated that she has felt it like 3 times. She's
yes,
witnessed it. Not even putting her hand on you. She said she put her hand on you once, she felt it. But she said you guys had movie night, and she asked you, BC, are you vibrating? You said, yeah. How do you know? She said, because I feel the floor
right.
vibrating.
And I felt it too, my legs and the floor itself.
This is like the craziest thing. Now, before you said that you have, okay, let's get into, because I know we're already in it, but I need to make some pointers here. Because I said to you, I think you have implants, and you said, oh, I know I do because I have them in my arms.
Mm-hmm.
Tell,
Okay.
tell us about that.
Okay. When I first, one morning I woke up and I go to brush my teeth and all, and wasn't really moving my left arm. I'm brushing my teeth using my right hand. And all of a sudden I had this pain that struck to where I couldn't move my left arm, the upper arm. And I was like, ow. Any kind of way I tried to move the arm, lift or anything, it was a tremendous pain. Shortly after that, the right arm did it, the same place. And it was like that became a regular thing of my arms like controlling like pain, like I can put you in pain whenever I want. And that's what went on for a while. Then I could actually hear, I don't know, my head or over me, whatever. But I know I can hear monitors of whenever I reach to do my hair, whether it's brushing my hair, washing my hair, I can hear lifting. Just like when I go to the bathroom, pulling my pants down to make that sit, like the squat sit. I hear it. Everything I do in movement, I hear it. And my arms, like I said, they're put in pain whenever they get ready. And so for some reason back here latter part of August, my arms kept itching just in those two places where this pain would hit, like a heaviness there. So I would just rub it and I rub it, and I had a few bumps, the same places on both arms, little like slightly to the side above the elbow. So after that went on for about a week, I don't know what was realized, but these things were moved up. I was still put in pain, but they were up higher, closer to the shoulders, both arms. And I noticed that, well, before they were moved, I had two little dots right there where I would have that pain and where the itching was, which I have pictures of that. Also, at that time, I was being burned even more all day long and night to where I had scabs, because most of the time I wear my hair now in a ponytail with a part in the very center. So I had burns in my scalp right there on where I had the part. I have pictures of that. And I had another burn on the other side. My hair have came out like mad, like shedding. Um, my hair is more like straight, and
Mm-hmm.
it lays down, never strings sitting up. And since this has been going on with the head burning, my hair is, yeah, it's straight back in a ponytail. But if you looked at me from the front, you would think I have a little bush. It's like it's really, I can't almost, you can tell like something magnetic, like making my hair try to stand up or something. And
Right.
it's just been like that ever since.
And so you also said you have puncture wounds of like on your sides or something or another.
No, yes, no. Well, on the arms where I can see the two dark circles, dark marks, where like some implantation went on there in the arms where I was like would be put in pain. Now
Mm-hmm.
the puncturing that it went on internal, I can't see anything there, but I've definitely been punctured
Like on
both
your
sides.
sides, you were saying you feel like on both sides or something.
Yes, the first time that happened was back in February. That's what led me to the ER when I was bleeding. It was almost as if I was punctured. I don't know, from the side into, I don't know, the ovaries or the uterus, but that was the first trip to the ER with that bleeding. The second time where it was that tremendous and I bled was just 3 weeks ago. And it happened again about 5 nights ago when I tried to use a suppository.
And you have moved, you have been in different places, and these things still happen. So
Yes.
it's not like this was just some sort of supernatural thing that was happening in your previous residence. This is something that is still continuously happening. You
Yes.
said, except for last night when we were on the phone, you had not experienced it.
Did not have, wasn't in any pain at all. My neck did feel right at the like the base of the neck was like a heaviness, but no burning pain or interfering with the stomach or vibrating. Felt like I didn't feel anything running through the body, nothing while I was talking to you yesterday.
Like the entire time I spoke with you last night, and as I'm speaking to you today, my head hurts, and I at certain times I have a burning in my chest, like my lungs are on fire. Um, but those are the two things that I've been experiencing every time I speak with you. Now, um, this is just madness. I told you I feel like your husband is a planter, that he absolutely knows what's going on with you.
Hmm.
I feel like this is an attack from, listen, the government, like it's like the very CIA agents and things like that you've contacted. I feel like these people absolutely know what's happening. I told you last night I feel like you have like primal DNA, meaning prime, meaning most important, like you have good DNA, and I feel like you are an experiment, and they have been testing on you, and that you're like a Henrietta Lacks, because they did with Henrietta Lacks, they took some of her they did like a like a pap smear, and they took some of
Hmm.
her stuff as well, her DNA or vaginal fluids or whatnot. And I believe that they are all in on it. Um, and that they can get to people, and they they can control and do certain things that are happening to you. I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're making this up. I believe you're experiencing exactly what you say you're experiencing, because I have talked about this, I have taught on this, from even taking the jabs and what that does inside of the body, and that they are putting the nanoparticles inside of the body, different metals. And when they put, and you've had every shot that they have given out so far, that I feel like each time that you do it, they can put them together like machines inside of your body. And
Hmm.
I said to you, I didn't want to freak you out. You know what I mean? But I feel like those who do that become trackers, and they can track people and watch things through your eyes, and become, you can become like they can detonate you around crowds of people. Like I feel like that they have been using you and taking your DNA and experimenting on you. What do you feel like is happening?
Okay, when I was having all the punctures, especially when it came to that, really was, I think, the most hurtful when I felt all these sensations in the uterus. Um, I was feeling like even knowing that I'm my what do you want to call it, my biological years of having children may be up, but I would like to have leave the world with my things as I came in, and I just felt like there's a part of me missing. At that time, I was feeling like, I really thought when it came to when it started with this false reading of the syphilis, that it was positive, knowing that it had never happened. I felt that was a way to get into the medical to find out what happened or what my life has been like as far as that. Then when the puncture happened in the spine and the fluid, I felt draining internal. Then when the puncture went on and I had the vaginal bleeding, and when it probing continued, I did feel like, I said, maybe they're still in my DNA. Maybe they're switching parts, my body parts internal or something. And I've also forgot to mention that started a couple of months ago, my kidneys have been burned. I mean, burned to where it was so excruciating, to where the urine was being controlled at one time. Um, and it went on many days until when I started talking, I kept saying, I know something's wrong. I'm drinking all this water. And when I drink water, we know water is going to make you urinate. So if I'm drinking 2 bottles of water before 6 a.m. in the morning, at least by 8, I should have went to the bathroom. That would send me at least 6 times right there. And I was continuously drinking all this water, but I'm not urinating from the time I got up in the morning. And even when I would do that, then something wasn't normal. It was like, it's mine in the beginning, but then at the end, it was as if it was like it would stop and start again. And but it wasn't coming out normal at the end. It was, I just, it just wasn't normal. But after I kept talking about how I'm drinking all this water and I'm not urinating throughout the day, not until maybe 4 or 5 p.m. From rising at about 4:30 or 5 a.m. and drinking all this water. Um, it seemed like for some reason that was it's like, I don't know, they lightened up on that. But also let me mention too, that was very painful, that when the burning was going on with the kidneys, when I went to urinate, the urine flowed through. It was hot, literally hot, and I could feel it heating up my inner thighs as it came through. It was hot. Not a burning like I have an infection, like that kind of burning through the urethra or bladder. No, the urine itself was hot, like it had been heated up. And that went on for probably about a week or so. And then it seems that they lightened up on that. But I've been through a lot. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
afraid about my body. I'm afraid. I've prayed and I've prayed and I've prayed.
When I discussed with last night with you about this with you about speaking and not exposing yourself or exposing because I felt like something could happen. You did tell me that you had made a video with your neighbor, your current neighbor,
Yeah.
and someone had reached out to you and said, "Oh, this is my mother's experiencing this." But she was healed by Peter Popoff.
Yes. And we talked about, well, I'm sorry, I did not, but my friend was in communication with the one that responded to the post. And she said, is there a way we can get together? I meet her mom, maybe talk about, discuss how did she overcome this and whatever what was done. And so the person responded to my friend saying, yeah, she had vibrating. She said they kept messing with her tails like they were having sex with her. They were this, they were that. And said, yeah, we can get together. So we decided, okay, yeah, that whenever they can, I'm willing to be there. I would love to hear her story and what did she do? And so the woman did tell her, she kept saying, okay, well, we're going to get together. And she said, oh, well, she saw this Peter Poppy or whoever he is, this pastor, said he healed her and she hasn't had a problem since. And so now she's a donator to him. And, but we never spoke to them again. She never reached out, to set a date or time to meet or anything. And
Mm.
I really had, my hopes were up high and
That finally something was going to happen, something was going to give.
right.
Because you kind of just really want this to stop. What we did not touch on is you wanted this to stop so very badly that twice before you thought about taking your own life.
Yes, this was back in latter part of March. The first time was because I think more of it was frustration of the family, that I'm sitting there and I'm crying out to them and I'm tired of this thing on my head. And like I said, my husband's sitting there playing video games. And yeah, he may turn or something to stop a moment and say, "Oh, are you okay?" "No, do I sound okay?" And I would come off like that. My daughter's in her room, either video games or on the phone. Ha 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 ha. Everybody's living normal but me. And I just felt like I was just being ignored. So I felt like I said, I'm going to do a test. And that test was, because it was, that's how I know it was March. It was still kind of cool to where you needed a coat, especially at 2 a.m. Now, anybody that knows me, no, I wouldn't walk the street. I don't carry myself like that to walk the street 2 a.m. in the morning. So I figured maybe that'll get attention. I grabbed my shoes and my coat, and I went past with the coat on my arm and all the shoes. You could clearly see, like, I'm going out. Nobody said anything, and so I went out walking, and I didn't take my phone either. I just wanted to go be alone and walk, and my thought was to walk out into the road of a moving car or truck. And then I said, "Can I do this?" I said, "Gosh, I wish it's hard for me to do it. If I had somebody with me, I wish they would just push me out into ongoing traffic." So of course, well, we had cars, but not as busy at that time of the morning. And of course, no one's walking but me. So I walked, maybe I'll say 2, 3 miles, and I turned around and I walked back slowly. And when I got back, I said, "This is not me, darling. What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
The next time was about 2 weeks later, where I was just so tired. Everybody's ignoring me. My son was sitting and he was eating pizza that he had just ordered. Um, I walked in the kitchen to the knife block and I took a knife out. I said, "I can't deal with this anymore. I want to kill myself." And I grabbed the knife. But right when I grabbed it, he came and grabbed me, took the knife out of my hand. And even while this is happening, my husband's on a video game and never moved. He's still playing the game. And so my son said, "Mom, don't do this. What am I going to do without you?" I said, "I don't care. Nobody cares. I don't care. Nobody believes this. I'm not crazy, but I just don't want to live. I can't take this anymore." So I think I went upstairs. I slammed doors, um, turned the music up loud. So I'm trying to block out the sound of this roaring machine every time I moved or turned or whatever. And so when I came back down, I noticed that the knife block, all of the knives, even in the drawer, butter knives were moved. And so my son did that, I guess, to protect me, to help me. And it was like that for a while until I think the fourth day I said, "Look, I'm cutting up such and such. I need a knife. Where'd you put them?" "No, I'm not giving them to you." I said, "No," I said, "I'm fine." I said, "Trust me, I'm not." That's probably what they want me to do, because I know what I know. They want me to do away with myself, and I'm not. They're going to have to do it. And so that's when I got that out of my head. And let me also mention too that as far as psychiatrists and all, with doctors telling me to talk to someone, I've had to, like I said, they gave me referrals, which I went to them, and nothing that they thought, I guess I was going to just accept medicine, and I did not. But they never said that I needed truly help or anything. So to me, I feel to a degree that they believe me. They just don't want to admit it.
I believe they're all in on it because
But
this is elaborate. This isn't just you. That's why I wanted you to speak on it, because I wanted to know if other people are experiencing what you have experienced.
mhm.
You know.
um, yeah. um, I'm gonna let this person talk for a second. I do have to go to the restroom. Okay,
Okay.
excuse me.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Greetings. How are you?
Finding you.
I'm Will. Now you're the one that have experienced and felt like the vibrations.
Yes.
It was once she moved to where she is now that
Mhm.
y'all would smoke, and you have ooh, my head, you would listen to her, and you know who I am, you follow and watch me,
Yes.
and you told her maybe you need to contact her.
Mhm.
What made you feel like that?
Because a lot of stuff that she was saying to me, I'm like, Dag, this what she be talking about. And my mother been watching you, and she always basically try to get us to watch you. And I just went to my mother like, Mom, she experiencing some of the stuff that I hear her talking about. And she came to me like, I need to see a psychic or somebody about the paranormal stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, Dag, you the first person that came to my head. Like, maybe she could help you or tell you what's going on, because this is what she talk about.
Yeah. I said I thought that was like so, like, it's so strange that, you know what I mean? Out of all the places she could have moved to,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It would be where you all are, who actually knows the teaching of what I
Right.
talk about.
And then my mother kept on saying, when I'm coming to her with it, because my mother watch you all the time. So my mother was like, ask her, did she get the jab? And I'm like, oh God. So I go to her and I ask her about it. She like, yeah. So my mother like, we didn't get it because of what you speak about. So maybe she experiencing stuff from that. So I'm just like, no, you gotta talk to her, because she could tell you what's going on. She know what's going on. You really need to talk to her about this.
The crazy part is, when we spoke last night and she was telling me that she did get the jab, she said her own children told her
not to
they
do
were
it.
not going to get it because they were putting chips in people.
And see, when we talk, like, because we watch you so much, so when we talk to other people about the stuff that you teach and say, they look at us like we crazy. So I'm like, maybe she probably gonna think we crazy, but hey, it's really going on clearly. So what she's saying, it can't be a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. This was so eye-opening. I could not wait for today for her to just, tell her story. And that's why I entitled it, Good Golly, Miss Molly, Truth or Fiction, Fact or Fiction, because people will believe what they believe. You know what I mean? But it's so detailed, and even today, nothing changed from what she did last night.
And you know what I told her? I said, if you experiencing what you say you is, before you even tell Quintia, the governess, she going to, if it's really going on, she going to say, oh, my head hurt, or I feel this here. And sure enough, last night when you talking to us, you like, my head hurt. And she just looked at me like, oh my God, you said that she was going to feel whatever pain I'm feeling. I'm like, yeah, so that should tell you that she know what she talking about.
Yeah, because as soon as I asked and I said, I think this has something to do with the jab, I heard you say, I told you.
Yeah, because it be like people don't, when we talking about you, when people come to us and say, because it's like people come to us with problems that going on, but then when we try to tell them from watching you what we think it could be, they think we crazy. But I'm like, man, this lady know her stuff. So I don't know, they just think we crazy, but every time you say something, you speak it right into existence. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Well, I am just pleased. Like I told her last night, it's unfortunate, all of the things that she's experiencing. However, it's so validating for me that it's a pleasure to have spoken with her. You know what I mean? Leah, okay, so does she have a Cash App? Because I would like to put it up. People are asking if she has a Cash App. So I will definitely put that up for her.
Okay. She said yes. Hold on, Miss Governor.
Okay.
Thank you, Governess. I'm back.
Yes. Okay. Do you have a Cash App?
Yes.
Okay. What's your Cash App? Is it your name? Because
no.
Okay.
Bios me.
Is the one we sent.
Yeah, the one that I sent.
Just tell her that.
Yeah, the one that I sent to you.
Okay, hold on. Did you sent your payment yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me get it up here for you. Have you felt anything today since we have been speaking?
Since we have been on here this moment, no. But all last night when I tried to sleep, the vibrating was all night, but it was it wasn't that hard shake that normally happens. The head burning and all, yes, but it wasn't as intense. But I did have the same symptoms.
Okay. Is this correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this is Miss BC's Cash App if you want to send her a donation. I so appreciate you, Miss BC, for coming on and giving your story and testimony. We ask that the soul and the spirit, your ancestors, keep you shielded and covered all the way around, and that at some point this stops and that you get some relief.
I hope so, because it's not happy, fun to live like this when someone can just put you in pain whenever. It's like I'm not happy. Yes, I'll try to laugh with friends and family, but the whole time it's on my mind because I'm feeling these things. When I'm eating, I'm wondering, when am I going to be burned? It happens while I'm eating. It's like I can't enjoy anything in life anymore, to eat and enjoy, to be with someone, to go out, even at work. I mean, everything that I do, I'm feeling this. And I started realizing that evidently I'm being seen, to where I just know I don't have any privacy. I'll get my things together, what I'm going to use, of course, like my deodorant and things, when I bathe, when I shower, and I'm doing these things in the dark.
Yeah, you did say that to me.
Because I know, I mean, even though whatever have already been seen, it's not that. It's just that who wants to you don't know who's watching you, just to be out there like that.
Yeah,
it's just not a fun way to live. Everything, like I said, you go to write, your fingers are burning. Like I think it's a mind thing to want to know everything that I'm doing and thinking, and it's not fun. But my head is trying to burn now.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and let you go because my head is hurting and I just want to use the restroom and grab something to eat. I just need to get away from the energy for a moment.
Okay.
But I so appreciate you, Miss BC. Y'all send her a donation for appreciation of her time and just coming on and taking the chance of even, telling her story. And I send so much love to you.
And thank you very much.
Yes,
I do have one question. Do you
Yes.
have any suggestions? Anything that I can do as far as like a detox that would work?
They have put up so many different things in this chat that it has ranged from taking a bath, I believe they said, with borax detergent, different things. I would love to, I don't know, do you have an email that maybe also doesn't say your name, that maybe they can email you some of the things that they have said? Because I keep seeing like food grade hydrogen peroxide, which I know is great for certain things. So that's 35% food grade hydrogen peroxide. Also, they said your story sounds a lot like a gentleman named T. Berry or something or another. Colloidal silver, which we talked about yesterday. There is a doctor they have even put up, said he is known for removing implants. They said blue algae. There are so many things that they have put up in the chat that even if you go back and you watch this later, you should be able to see some of the things. Damon T. Berry, that's his name. His story sounds a lot like yours. Turmeric, just different things. They said Google metal detox herbs. And so it's so many different things. If you go back through the chat, you should be able to see some of the things that they have put up that is going to be hopefully helpful to you, Miss BC.
I hope so.
Yeah, bentonite clay from Walmart, apple cider vinegar, you would probably be taking and doing all kind of remedies, but something is better than nothing, So I just send gratitude to you. That's an I in her Cash App. FIOSME.
Yes.
And I don't think it matters if it's capitalized, does it?
No, it does not matter.
Okay. So they said look up Morgellons as well. And activated charcoal. So Miss BC, I'm gonna let you go. I show gratitude for your story, for your time, and for your effort. Okay.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. And if you need me again in the future, you know where I am.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and thank you all.
Absolutely.
Be safe.
You too. You too. You as well. Peace. I show gratitude to Miss BC for her time and for her effort. Gratitude for any donations sent her way. Gratitude for any donations that were sent my way. I appreciate you all. You say chlorella helps remove heavy metals. Gratitude for the different concoctions, the things that you know that she can do. I show gratitude, and whether or not you believe this story or not, these things do happen. I don't know if you all paid attention that she said there is a machine that she was told about that can do these things without having to be in her space. I believe that they are using supernatural technology to also enter into her home. I believe she's had planters all around her and that people have been gotten to or also in on it. I show gratitude for you all coming and just listening and being respectful. You all have an amazing day. We may come back on later and do some things, but I love you to life. I show gratitude. Peace and bliss. Solitude de wa.